Why did it have to end like this? I can't let go.
The richest man in Valoria once believed money could solve every problem. He believed money could buy respect, loyalty, success, and even happiness. He was wrong, because one day, the man who owned everything lost the one thing his billions could never purchase. A person who loved him for who he truly was. Not his name, not his fortune, not his power. Just him. And the most shocking part? The woman who changed the life of billionaire heir Alexander Vale was someone he once looked down on. Someone he thought was ordinary. Someone he believed was beneath him. But she was the only person who had the courage to tell him the truth when everyone else was too afraid. Before we begin this emotional story, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because here, we share powerful stories about love, sacrifice, and the unexpected moments that change people forever. Now, let's begin. In the beautiful city of Valoria, where billion-dollar companies controlled entire industries and wealthy families lived behind golden gates, one name stood above them all: Alexander Vale. At 40 years old, Alexander was the heir to Vale International, one of the largest business empires in the world. His family name opened doors everywhere. His signature could change markets. His decisions affected thousands of lives. To everyone watching from the outside, Alexander had the perfect life. A luxurious mansion overlooking the city, a collection of rare cars, private jets waiting whenever he wanted to travel, a closet filled with designer clothes, and a bank account most people could only dream about. But behind the expensive suits and confident smile was a man who had spent his entire life feeling alone. Because Alexander had learned something painful when he was young. People were always attracted to what he had, never who he was. Friends wanted invitations to his parties. Business partners wanted his influence. Women wanted his lifestyle. Almost everyone who entered his world wanted something from him. So Alexander stopped trusting people. He built walls around his heart and convinced himself that emotions were weaknesses. Love was just another transaction. Kindness was often an act, and loyalty always had a price. His father had once told him, "Alexander, never forget this. When you have money, everyone will tell you they love you. Your job is to find out who loves you when you have nothing." But Alexander never believed that person existed. Instead, he became exactly what the world expected him to be: cold, powerful, untouchable. His employees respected him, but they feared him more than they admired him. His executives followed his orders, but nobody challenged him. And every night when he returned to his massive empty mansion, he realized something he refused to admit. He had everything except happiness. Then one morning, everything started falling apart. Alexander walked into the headquarters of Vale International, expecting another normal day. The building represented everything his family had built. 100 floors of glass and steel standing proudly above Valoria. But the moment he entered his office, he knew something was wrong. His assistant looked nervous. His executives avoided eye contact. The atmosphere felt different. "Mr. Vale," his assistant said quietly, "we have a serious problem." Alexander placed his briefcase down. "What happened?" The assistant swallowed. "The company's biggest investment has collapsed." For a moment, Alexander said nothing. The investment represented billions. A failure like this could damage the reputation his family spent generations building. Within hours, emergency meetings were called. Executives filled the conference room, throwing out suggestions. "We should sell some assets. We should blame the previous management team. We need to control the media before the public loses confidence." Alexander listened. But deep down he knew something. Nobody was trying to fix the problem. They were only trying to protect themselves. Finally, one executive spoke carefully. "Perhaps the company needs new leadership." The room went silent. Everyone understood what he meant. After years of success, people were already questioning whether Alexander deserved his position. That night, Alexander remained alone in his office. The city lights reflected against the glass windows. For the first time in his life, money couldn't immediately solve his problem, and that terrified him. The next day, Alexander attended a business conference outside Valoria. He wasn't expecting anything useful. Most experts impressed him with complicated words but offered no real solutions. Then, during a discussion about his company's crisis, a woman sitting quietly at the back of the room spoke. "Your company's biggest problem isn't the investment." Everyone turned toward her. Alexander looked confused. The woman wasn't wearing expensive jewelry. She wasn't surrounded by assistants. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She simply held a notebook and looked calm. "And who exactly are you?" Alexander asked. The woman looked at him confidently. "Sophia Bennett." Alexander raised an eyebrow. "And you believe you understand my company better than the people who built it?" Sophia didn't get offended. "No," she replied. "I believe I understand your customers better than the people who forgot about them." The room became silent. Alexander leaned forward. "Explain." Sophia opened her notebook. "Your company didn't fail because of numbers. It failed because people stopped believing in it." Alexander frowned. Sophia continued. "You focused on becoming the biggest company in the industry, but you forgot the people who made you successful." Nobody spoke, because everyone knew she was right. She explained that customers no longer trusted the company because they felt like they were only being treated as numbers. She suggested rebuilding the brand through honesty, connection, and understanding. It wasn't the type of advice Alexander usually heard. Most people tried to protect his ego. Sophia challenged it. And for the first time in a long time, someone wasn't afraid of him. After the meeting ended, Alexander approached her. "You're either very brave or very confident." Sophia smiled. "Maybe I just believe the truth matters more than someone's title." Those words stayed in his mind. Nobody spoke to Alexander like that. Nobody. A week later, Alexander made a decision that shocked everyone. He offered Sophia a position as a business advisor. Most people assumed she would immediately accept because working with Alexander Vale was considered a dream opportunity. But Sophia didn't answer immediately. "I have one condition," she said. Alexander looked surprised. "You're negotiating with me?" "Yes." "And what exactly is your condition?" "That you listen to advice even when it hurts your pride." For the first time in years, Alexander almost smiled. Nobody had ever demanded humility from him. But something about Sophia was different. She wasn't impressed by his wealth. She wasn't intimidated by his power. She saw something nobody else saw. A lonely man hiding behind success. As they began working together, Alexander slowly noticed things he never paid attention to before. Sophia remembered the names of employees. She cared about people who couldn't benefit her. She treated everyone with the same respect, from the company executives to the cleaning staff. One evening, Alexander asked her, "Why do you care so much about people who can't do anything for you?" Sophia looked at him. "Because their value isn't based on what they can give me." Alexander became quiet. Because deep down, he knew he had spent his entire life believing the opposite. Sophia was teaching him something money never could, that a person's worth was not measured by their bank account. Slowly, without realizing it, Alexander started changing. The man who once ignored everyone around him began listening. The man who believed apologies were weaknesses began admitting when he was wrong. And the man who thought love was just an illusion started falling for the one woman who wanted nothing from him. But Alexander's biggest battle was not winning Sophia's heart. It was defeating the pride that had controlled him his entire life. And eventually, that pride would cost him everything. Because when Alexander was finally given the choice between protecting his image and protecting the woman he loved, he made the mistake that almost destroyed their relationship forever. And he would soon discover the biggest secret Sophia had been hiding all along. A secret that would change everything. Because Sophia Bennett was not the ordinary woman everyone thought she was. She was the person who could save his empire, and the person who could finally save him. But before Alexander discovered the truth about Sophia, he made the one mistake that would nearly cost him the only genuine relationship he had ever experienced. As Vale International began recovering, the company's success started attracting attention again. Investors who had abandoned Alexander returned. Business leaders who doubted him suddenly wanted partnerships. The same people who questioned his leadership were now praising his decisions. And slowly, the old Alexander began to return. The confidence, the pride, the belief that he was always right. Sophia noticed it before anyone else did. She saw the small changes. The way he interrupted people again. The way he started caring more about public approval than the people around him. One evening, after a difficult meeting, Sophia walked into Alexander's office. "You're changing back," she said. Alexander looked up from his desk. "What does that mean?" "It means the man I was starting to believe in is disappearing." Alexander leaned back in his chair. "I'm running a company, Sophia. I can't make decisions based on emotions." Sophia shook her head. "That's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to remember the person you became when you had nothing left to lose." Alexander stood up. "You're forgetting something. This company exists because of my family, because of my decisions." Sophia looked at him quietly. "And there it is." "What?" "The pride that keeps telling you everything belongs to you." Those words irritated him. Because they were true. But Alexander wasn't ready to admit it. "You're my employee, Sophia. Be careful how you speak to me." The moment those words left his mouth, he regretted them. Because Sophia's expression changed. Not with anger. Not with disappointment. With sadness. "I see," she whispered. Alexander immediately realized he had hurt her. "Sophia," but she stepped back. "No, it's okay." Her voice became softer. "I just remembered something important." "What?" "That people don't always change. Sometimes they only become better when life forces them to." Then she walked away. And for the first time in months, Alexander felt something he hated. Regret. Days passed. Sophia became distant. She still performed her work perfectly, but the warmth between them disappeared. The conversations they used to have became simple business discussions. The laughter disappeared. The connection faded. And Alexander realized something terrifying. He missed her. Not her ideas. Not her help. Her. The woman who challenged him. The woman who saw him when nobody else did. But instead of apologizing, Alexander did what he had always done. He protected his pride. Until one day, everything changed. A major business presentation was scheduled with international investors. Vale International needed one final agreement to secure its future. Alexander prepared for the meeting, confident that everything would go perfectly. But during the presentation, the investors began asking questions. Questions about the company's future. Questions about the strategy. Questions Alexander couldn't answer. Because the person who created the strategy wasn't standing beside him anymore. Sophia. The room became uncomfortable. The investors exchanged worried looks. Then one of them finally spoke. "Mr. Vale, we were under the impression that Sophia Bennett would be presenting today." Alexander looked confused. "You know Sophia?" The investor smiled. "Of course we do." Alexander froze. "What do you mean?" The investor placed a file on the table. "We have followed her work for years." Alexander opened the file. And what he saw left him speechless. Articles. Awards. Business achievements. Global recognition. All belonging to Sophia Bennett. The woman everyone thought was just an advisor had spent years quietly building strategies for some of the most successful companies in the world. She wasn't inexperienced. She wasn't lucky. She was brilliant. One of the investors looked at Alexander. "Mr. Vale, Sophia Bennett is the reason your company survived." Alexander stared at the documents. His heart sank. Because suddenly, everything made sense. The solutions. The ideas. The impossible turnaround. It was never luck. It was Sophia. The woman he underestimated was the person who saved everything he had. For years, Alexander believed wealth made him superior. But the truth was standing in front of him. The person with the greatest value in the room had never been the richest person. It had always been Sophia. And then Alexander realized something even more painful. She never told him because she wanted recognition. She never used her intelligence to gain power. She never wanted his money. She simply wanted to do what was right. That was when Alexander finally understood. Sophia had loved him in a way nobody else ever had. Not because of his empire. Not because of his last name, but because she saw the person behind everything, and he had almost lost her because he was too proud to see the person in front of him. That evening, Alexander went looking for Sophia. He found her at a small cafe she often visited. Not a luxury restaurant. Not an expensive place. Just a quiet cafe where ordinary people sat and enjoyed simple moments. When Sophia saw him, she was surprised. Alexander? For once, he had no confidence. No arrogance. No powerful businessman attitude. Just a man who realized he had made a mistake. I know the truth now. Sophia looked away. About what? About you. Silence filled the space between them. I know who you are. I know what you've achieved. I know you could have had everything I have. Sophia looked at him. But I didn't want what you had. Those words hurt, because Alexander knew they were true. I'm sorry, he said. Sophia looked surprised. Because Alexander Vale rarely apologized. I'm sorry for the way I treated you. I thought money made me valuable. I thought my position made me important. He paused. But you taught me that a person's worth comes from who they are when nobody is watching. Sophia remained silent. I spent my entire life surrounded by people who wanted something from me. Then you came along, and you were the only person who wanted me to become better. His voice became emotional. I almost lost you because I was too proud to admit that I needed someone. Sophia looked down. Alexander, love isn't about finding someone perfect. I know. It's about finding someone willing to grow. Alexander nodded. And I want to grow. For the first time, Sophia saw something different in him. Not the billionaire. Not the heir. Not the powerful businessman. Just Alexander. A man finally learning how to love. Months later, the city of Valoria witnessed something nobody expected. Alexander Vale changed. The man once known for arrogance became known for kindness. He invested in people, not just profits. He listened before speaking. He treated everyone with respect. And beside him was Sophia. Not because she needed his wealth. Not because she wanted his status. But because she believed in the man he had become. Years later, when people asked Alexander what his greatest achievement was, they expected him to mention his company, his fortune, his empire. But Alexander always gave the same answer. My greatest achievement was learning that the most valuable things in life cannot be bought. Because once upon a time, Alexander Vale thought money could buy everything. But a woman from an ordinary family taught him the greatest lesson of his life. That true love does not care about your bank account. It does not care about your name. It does not care about your status. True love sees your heart. And sometimes, losing your pride is the only way to find something more valuable than wealth. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who believes that kindness, humility, and love are still the most powerful things in the world. Because sometimes, the person we underestimate today can become the person who changes our entire life tomorrow. Thank you for watching.